Live in the library. It's a new year, and is it a new you? That's the question that we're going to be resolving today. It's primarily going to be a quick fire, community focused, inner work session. For the last few live streams, I've been monologuing and seminaring about topics related to shadow work, shadow entities, shadow territory, shadow behaviors. But today, I want to take it back to our roots from the outdoor walks. We've got the black candle burning for our shadow self, and fundamentally, we have some shadow confrontations underway. And I thought the best way to begin this video, or to begin this live stream, if you're watching live or watching on the replay, is to take a moment where we realize that we're not quite as far along our healing journeys this year as we might want to be. It's very, very particular that in January, especially this moment, mid-January, you become exceptionally aware, excruciatingly aware of your shortcomings. You know that you haven't done everything that you set out to do. Maybe on the New Year's preparation or the start of the year, you had some pretty clear intentions and some pretty clear expectations about how the year would turn out. But the reality is we're in mid-January, and my question for you is, have you confronted your shadow self, or is this the moment where you and me can have a discussion and we get to find which shadows are still running the show beneath the surface? We don't need that to continue throughout the year. We're going to have a moment here in the community live stream. I can see Roya joining live. Hello, welcome, someone who knows all about shadows. Would you like to kick things off? Either Roya or anyone else who's joining live, which shadows have you been faced with at the start of this wonderful new year? Some raw talk, some real talk in the library. Got the black candle to represent the shadow within. How did your New Year's intentions go? How have they been going so far? Any goals, any objectives, any great ambitions that have been thwarted or cut down by your shadow self? Asking now the live community, welcome if you're watching live. This is today going to be a quickfire question and answer round. So if you have questions for me about your shadow territories, entities or behaviors, or primarily within the theme of just being honest about yourself, then please do drop in the chat. I can see Make 1984 Fiction again, welcome back. Starting off heavy straight away. Yeah, damn right, that's what we're doing. We're going to cut to the core. We're midway through January. We set those strong intentions. Most of us in this community, we set some pretty strong intentions, even if it was just one intention. For me personally, as I mentioned on the end of year live stream just a few weeks ago, I have one intention: to do what must be done for the highest service of self and those I care about. To do what needs to be done. And for me, that's the Shadowwork Library course and community, which is active now, and there's a group element that's now building. We've got over 40 members in the group. I'm serving that community. I'm trying to help as much as I can on a one-to-one basis and a group basis. That's what needs to be done. This live stream, it's what needs to be done. The research, it's what needs to be done. And for myself and other people, I have one intention for this year. Quite frankly, in terms of how things are going, I think I'm pretty on track in terms of not being attacked by one of my shadows sabotaging me underground, but I might be victim to it a little bit later on. I'd love to know how your intentions have been, and if you've started to notice any shadow behaviors that might be undermining your well-being. Again, I'm repeating myself for anyone who's watching on the replay, because for the first few minutes of a live stream, we just need a few people to come in and get situated, hang out in the library, get themselves a nice brew. For me personally, I'm drinking a lion's mane and chaga latte. It's very refreshing. If you haven't tried the mushroom teas or the mushroom coffees, I make my own. I make my own blend from the lion's mane powder and the chaga. I think it's also got cordyceps in. And I just mix it with oat milk. It's quite nice on the senses. It's not too much of a buzz. Grab yourself a drink, strap yourself in. We're going to do some raw talk and some real talk, and I'm going to focus primarily on the community messages I can see coming through right away. Bringing up here the live stream so I can monitor the chat. Let's see what people are saying. So in real time, we've got Albert. Thank you, Jordan. Welcome, Albert. I see Pepsil. Great awakening to maturity, depth and emotional realms, seeing completely different people when I talk to my friends and family. Some wide intentions there, some high consciousness intentions. I see Make 1984 Fiction again, and yes, I've been meeting some of my deepest, most painful shadows. I'd love to know about them. Which are the painful shadows that you've been meeting so far, these first 3 weeks of the year? Nick, I see you in chat. Nick Bergstrom, hello from Minnesota. Love these live streams. I appreciate the research and reflection we go through here. Damn right. Brother, let me know what you've been facing. Which shadows have been either working in your favor or working against you in this brand new year. collectively, if we bring out a few of these stories, a few confident members of the community, they can say, this is what I've been struggling with. We start to find our stories reflected in other people. We get an opportunity to see ourselves by seeing deeper into someone else. So if we bring a few of these community stories up together, the first courageous people who start to bring out the deeper talk, you know what we do here, you've been here on a live stream before. Nick, if you want to participate, please let me know. We'll bring it out in a conversation. I see Rachel, nonetheless, here in the chat, stopped in to say hi, but I really want to focus on reading this morning, so I'll probably go, but have a great live stream. Rachel, it's wonderful to see you here. I know that you're doing the consistent, steady study discipline of getting offline and actually sitting with books like Meeting the Shadow and the book that I'm recommending this week, The Betrayal of the Body, one of the 6 books that I'm recommending you start 2025 with. Here are 2 of them actually, and if you want the rest, link in the description, selfintegrationschool.com, the School of Self-Integration. Link in the description, you can get them immediately. It takes 30 seconds. If you haven't done it yet, let me email you the 6-book study guide. These are 2 of them. And Rachel is likewise doing the work where she's going to be getting offline and not wasting time with me here on a live stream, but actually going with the masters themselves. Works much, much better from my experience. Seeing now on the chat from John. John just bought Meeting the Shadow. Can't wait to read it. Thank you for your videos. John, honestly, thank you. If you're working through Meeting the Shadow, which is one of the best essay collections, you are giving yourself a head start. You're giving yourself an ability to preemptively see the shadows that might cut you down. Honestly, that's the major benefit of reading a book like this. You'll be able to see ahead of time. Rachel saying the school is great. Consider joining y'all. I didn't pay Rachel to say that, but Rachel is one of our members inside the Shadowwork Library community, and I suppose good work creates good reviews or good testimonials. Rachel's been there in the community, in the posts, in the calls, in the live Sunday seminars. We've got another one tomorrow, 7 o'clock until 8:30 UK time, 30 of them throughout the year. You've got a discount code inside of the link in the description, 6 books free. You see what I'm doing? I've got a whole web of shadow integration in place. Link in the description. You're going to get some money off the Shadowwork Library. You're going to get to join Rachel and our other dozens of students inside the community and get some real deep shadow conversations. But yeah, maybe Rachel won't be here for too long because, as she mentioned, she's going to do the proper Shadowwork Library student ethic, which is we're all agreeing actually inside the community to spend a lot less time on our phones. We've got a group accountability in place currently where everyone's made a certain intention about limiting their screen time, having an offline day, having offline mornings, and for me personally, my one intention, because I'm already pretty offline, as you've heard me say before, I don't do social media on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. I only use Instagram on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I only watch YouTube videos on Thursday evenings all the way through to Sunday. I'm pretty offline. I'm pretty no phone. It's how I get a lot of reading done. It's how I feel. Pretty damn amazing. But my shadow screen behavior is taking my online phone, which is the phone that I'm streaming this on, into the bedroom and giving myself the excuse a couple nights per week of I'll just watch a YouTube video in bed. But guess what happens? You're then in bed, your phone's within reach, and then in the morning you put another YouTube video on. And then maybe a bit of Instagram. And that's the tricky trap that I notice happening to myself, normally at least once per week, sometimes twice per week, but I don't want it anymore. So I've created a no phone boundary. I have given myself the highest possible likelihood of fulfilling my New Year's intention, of doing what needs to be done for the highest need of myself and the highest need of those I care about. You see that my language is a little bit different. I don't have a prescribed New Year's intention. I don't have a verbatim, word by word affirmation. It has to be exactly this word to this word. There's an energy. Sometimes I say it a bit differently. I said it differently just 5 minutes ago. I'm doing what needs to be done for the benefit of all. I'm doing the best things with the highest consciousness that I can possibly muster, primarily through my teaching and my coaching and my service through this library project. But that's my intention for the year. One intention, several manifestations, and to meet that intention, I need to have my no phone boundary. And that means for me, not taking my online phone into the bedroom and just having my offline phone, which is actually, I believe, over here. You'll notice that I've got 3 phones. This is my offline phone. This has no social media as my workout tracker. It has the ability to go on Google Docs to write community posts if I'm feeling inspired. This is my offline phone. This has a timer on as well so I can wake up in the morning. This is fantastic. This is my live stream phone, which allows me to monitor the chat. You might be wondering, I'm going to go back to the community, but people, if they haven't seen this before, they think this is crazy because I'm also filming on a 3rd phone. Offline phone, full focus, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. This is the one I use. I make sure it's the same size as my regular phone, so I have a similar feel in my hand. It's the iPhone Pro Max version. I like it because it doesn't feel like I'm downgrading. It doesn't feel like I'm restricting myself. It's just I don't have social media, and this is an older, smaller, yeah, Livestream phone, which has one function. It has data, so that every week when I'm doing a live stream, I can monitor the chat in real time and keep YouTube off the other phone. You might say, well, why spend a couple hundred on this and 10 quid a month on data if I could just do it on here? It's because I lose a lot more than just a couple hundred quid if I have YouTube installed on this as a possible risk factor on a day-by-day basis. I'm aware of my shadows. I'm aware of how easy it will be. So live stream phone, offline phone, and my online phone does not go into the bedroom anymore. That's one of the things that we're talking about in the Shadow Work Library. The community is popping off. We're very high-level intellectual, spiritual beings inside there. I try to protect the confidentiality of the different members, so you're not seeing me screenshotting the conversations that are happening, but I can tell you with confidence, as you can affirm when you get inside the community, you will see on the home feed 500 to 1,000 word posts on a day-by-day basis. The community members are introducing themselves, the community members are bringing up topics around inner child work, deep sexual shadow work, relationship shadows, addictions, and they're writing long, thoughtful mini essays, and then other people are responding with mini essays. It's fantastic, but I'm not harvesting their shadow for marketing material in an explicit sense. That's for you to feel into and decide if you want to participate in what we're doing over there. Screen addiction, screen healing is one of the things that we're actively healing. Let's go back into the chat. A bit of a loop around the Shadow Work Library there. Again, link in the description. I will send you 6 books, and I can see a new chat coming in from Jasper right there. Hey Jordan, I've been watching your videos for some weeks now. Gonna check now on this phone. See, it went off on my main screen, so I check on the screen. Jasper said, I've been watching your videos for some weeks now, and I really like your content. Well, thank you. I'm also starting. Can you hear the moto races? There's some amped up 18-year-old on his New Year energy. He's got his new bike for Christmas, and he's racing around, just probably around the golf course or something, tearing up the track, getting in the way of the other golfers. I don't know. It's making a lot of noise. If you can hear the mosquito buzzing, I do apologize. Can't control it. We adapt. Anyway, Jasper was saying in the chat, I really like your content. Fantastic. I like to hear that. I'm also really new to all your subjects. Any tips on where to start my learning process? Yes. Meeting the Shadow, essay collection by Connie Zweig and Jeremiah Abrams. And this week, in terms of somatic shadow work, Betrayal of the Body by Alexander Lowen. These are 2 of the 6 books that I'm recommending, Jasper, for people at the start of 2025. If you go down to the link in the description, I will send you a 6-book study guide. It's got 4 more of these books. I have a few pages describing what the book's about. I tell you why I'm recommending them as a holistic stack. And if you get through these first 6 books, which have been holistically chosen as a broad foundation for the year ahead, you'll be able to know where to go in particular. You might find that after reading Meeting the Shadow, there are some more books that are more Jungian psychology and you want to go there, more archetypal. You might find after reading Betrayal of the Body that you want to go deep into the somatic world and the physical somatic therapy. So Jasper and anyone else who's watching or thinking, well, where should I start with all this shadow work and all this inner work and self-actualization? Link in the description. I'm sending you a free study guide. Put your email in there, give you a free study guide. I spent 5 years researching to be able to choose 6 books for you. I read 700 books to be able to choose 6 books for you to start. There's a very highly intentional reason why I do this, because for me, in terms of my consciousness, I know that everything I put out into the world scales out at a magnitude that I have to be aware of. If I say one cruel thing to you now in this video, it's not just you, it's a couple thousand other people potentially. So I try and bring that intention through in giving a free gift like a 6-book study guide, that those books better be the best, because I have to imagine the highest possible timeline, that it's not, let's say 5,000 people get the 6-book study guide. And imagine there was 100% compliance. Imagine every single person was willing to spend the 70, 75, 80 pounds getting all 6 of these books. They're really cheap if you buy them secondhand. I have to be emotionally aware that that leads to 5,000 sales of Meeting the Shadow. Maybe I should get in contact with a publishing house and look for royalties. I don't do this stuff. You'll notice on Amazon, this is really interesting. You'll see on Amazon, if you go for Meeting the Shadow, you'll likely see this book there as well. Why is that? Any guesses in the chat? Any guesses in the chat why this book would be linked to this book or the other books in the 6-book study guide? Why does Amazon know to recommend these books to other customers just like you? It's one of those moments where my teacher consciousness poses a question to the class and no one really raises their hand to give the answer. But as Edward comes in, the magic of the Jordan Thornton algorithm, it's true. A humble brag, but the humble brag is true. These books did not exist in the network that they existed in before this channel was created. I can tell because if you go back to the Inner Work Essentials series, you can see the 52 books I recommended, and you can see the episode 13 links to episode 14, links to episode 15 on Amazon, because people will binge watch these videos, make a list of the books, and then search them in that order. So Amazon learns the algorithm for some reason that people buy this book, and then this book together, and then realistically I actually should do another check on Amazon to see if the study guide all comes together as one. I bet it does. I bet at least 4 of them all come together on the same results. So that's the humble power that I wield, and as people, yeah, someone said, I'll pay to see you buy them because you have done the work that the AI couldn't. Perhaps. I mean, some of these books are old. Like this book, first published 1967. 1967. I've got some community posts coming out today and tomorrow on this book. 1967. 60-year-old book. Sasha says I have a list called Jordan's Treats. I'm going to have a strong mint to celebrate that one, Sasha. And if you didn't know, because you might be new to my channel and YouTube is the place that it is, this is a moment where I can share a little bit about my vision or golden shadow projection for how I want to run my teaching, how I want to build my business. Hear this. I have never made a single penny from an affiliate link or a sponsorship. There's no private meetings with the publishing houses. There's no backdoor secret agreements where we're shaking hands and I'm getting super rich off recommending secondhand books for you on free YouTube videos. Yes, I have my coaching. It's 20 people per year maximum, ideally 15 or 16 people. I make a couple £100 from YouTube ad revenue per month. Nothing for the amount of hours that I need to put into this channel. And I likewise have my Shadow Work Library course and community. But I give all this for free. You can see on the channel over 200 videos, 250-ish, I don't know. I've given so much for free, so much. And I want you to enjoy the books and enjoy yourself. I don't have any skin in the game in terms of the money. I see Holistic Fathering coming through. Hi Jordan, I'm going later, but the Shadow Work course, so I can be tomorrow on the video call. Brother, Hector, it is good to see you. Hector and I have been chatting, I believe. Yeah, we're seeing it the same way. Yeah, I'll see you in the Shadow Work Library tomorrow, my friend. I'll see you right there. And if I'm misremembering in the moment of seeing the whole community, then please change it to me. I see various people in the chat. Frankie Rosado, I see you down here, brother, wherever you might be in the world right now. I see that love heart and I'm sending back your way. Fantastic, fantastic guy. I'm seeing other people coming through. Jack George, it would be a problem if you did them. Maybe, I mean, maybe it wouldn't be a problem. I think it's normal on YouTube that people make money from affiliate links, but I think it's, look, I'll give you this. No, I want to get back. I don't want this stream to be all about me again, but I really want to make it about you. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to see like the ethics of the coaching industry behind the scenes, right? You ready for some raw talk about the coaching and the fucked up nature of coaching and YouTube? Ready for this? Okay. Let's do some raw talk. The raw talk that I've noticed. You'll see this, and I'm at risk of this. This is one of my shadows. Seeing Sasha saying yeah, Alana saying let's go. Like sure, yeah, let's go. Okay. Shadow of the coaching industry. What the fuck's happening here? What do you see on the front end as a video consumer versus what's happening on the back end? You might find that there's channels out there, teachers out there, self-development gurus, someone like myself, a man or a woman who you really enjoy watching, and you'll see them in their early stages. They've got their first couple thousand subscribers and they've really got the heart of the work. They're kind of raw and earthy, things are a bit unpolished, but they've got the passion. They show up on camera and you can tell them that they really care about what they're doing. Flash forwards 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 subscribers, 200, 300,000 subscribers. What starts to happen? By necessity, it becomes formulaic. Sponsorships start coming through. Those little Squarespace adverts, or in our industry, BetterHelp. I don't want to step on anyone's feet. I don't want to shoot unnecessarily in directions I don't need to start wars, but you're never going to see me do a fucking BetterHelp sponsorship. Not only do I distrust the power of a service like that for people like you and me who are at this level of inner work, it's not necessarily the best service out there because we need deeper, more serious work than you can just make a random commitment, show up to your therapy session or don't show up. It doesn't matter. Like, do a video call, do an audio call, do a texting, whatever you feel that day. I don't believe in the model. I think it's good at a certain band of consciousness, but at the deeper level of work, you need commitment, devotion, discipline, real relationships over time, and also that tends to cost more money with higher quality professionals. That's just the truth of it. The whole BetterHelp sponsorship scheme, or like Squarespace, or Athletic Greens, or what other things do you see as sponsors? I don't know so much, right? Nothing against any of these companies necessarily, but as a YouTuber or a creator, I see, what is the one book I recommend for beginners to shadow work? My friend, you might be new here. This is the book. And I'll hold it up for you as I continue talking about this point. That's the book. Link in the description. I've got 5 more for you. That's the book you read. I don't make money off this. That's the whole idea. The reason I think that you've seen, if you've been here for a few years, I started doing this 3 years ago. Literally 1 month from now, 3 years full time on YouTube. And the reason I don't do sponsorships or affiliate links is that I want you energetically to know that I'm telling you the fucking truth. Right? When I say, in the community post coming out later today, this is one of the top 10 books in my library, you can feel it. Because I don't have any money in the game here. I'm giving you a free study guide. Link in the description. But this is the book from 1967. This over here, you'll see this. See him? That's all Alexander Lowen. It's all 12 of his books, right there, next to Wilhelm Reich, and then this is all interpersonal neurobiology over here. You know what? This is YouTube. Let's do a fun moment. I'm going to take you over there, and we'll come back in on the community moment. You want to see this? You want to go to the little library tour? The lighting's not going to be so good, but we'll do a little library tour moment. I'm going to show you why I recommend Alexander Lowen and this one book in particular. I'm not going to show you the whole library. I'm going to show you this shelf. This is this foundational shelf of somatic therapy and interpersonal neurobiology. Okay, let's make this bright. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get my little light. Should be just in here. There we go. Now we've got a light. Let's go on an adventure. We're going to go spelunking in the library. I'm going to show you why I recommend the books that I recommend in the way I recommend them, okay? Okay, let's go over. Get your caving hats on. That's all of Alexander Lowen right there. Right there. You see? Screenshot it. It's your opportunity. There's all the books right there. Cool. You got 3 more seconds to screenshot. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. Then we've got Wilhelm Reich, who was Alexander Lowen's mentor. Maybe I can sit up in a little spontaneous sitting down here, just like that. So we've got Alexander Lowen, and then we've got Wilhelm Reich, who was the original OG. Check out that. So cool. 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. The old school character analysis. Super cool. Very dense. Very technical. Fun fact, I've never recommended Reich directly to a client or a student, ever. Why? Because it's not practical and accessible if you haven't already read Lowen. And then what do I recommend in terms of reading Lowen? It's The Betrayal of the Body. And if you're looking at the somatic and the attachment theory, these books right here are the Norton Interpersonal series on neurobiology. You'll see over here, we've got the original John Bowlby, Attachment, Separation, and Loss. And all these books. Thousands of fucking pages of scientific material that I honestly didn't enjoy reading. I hated it. I found it so incredibly boring. But I needed to know. I needed to know what was going on. Because I'm not a professional psychologist. I've never claimed to be. So I maybe had to do a little bit more work compared to everyone else. These books, fantastic. The one I recommend you read, The Art and Science of Psychotherapy, which is this book. by Alan Shaw, right here. Screenshot that. That is the best book on attachment theory at the deeper level. Gonna cost you about 30 or 40 quid, but this is the best one, guaranteed. Guaranteed. You can read the basic level books, we can go straight to this one. That's one shelf. There's my trauma shelf. Oh, if you screenshotted it, there you go. That was the opportunity. And then many more. And then my bookshelf over there. Look at that. So when I say, my friend, this is the best book on the topic, I'm 98% sure that I'm correct. I'm trying to give you gold for free. It's been ridiculous, this research process. Hope you enjoyed the tour. That was a little bit of a fun moment. Let me say it one more time. This is the best book by Alexander Lowen, one of the best somatic therapists who ever lived. Link in the description. I'll give you some more of the best books from the library. Take a little break. I'll sort out that shelf a little bit later on. Look at the chaos in the library over there. I see So Fun to Catch You Bending in Front of Your Bookshelf from Shadow Sister Healing. It's the monk vibes. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. If you've asked any questions in the chat, we're going to move into the quickfire Q&A now. I've shared everything about myself. If you're new to me, I don't make the money in the way you think I might make the money. I'm not going to do sponsorships in the way that people do sponsorships. I'm not here to make YouTube revenue and make a couple £100 from YouTube. I'm trying to make a fucking difference in this world. I have the capacity and the intellect and the grit to be able to research in a way with a young man's energy that other people don't. I spent thousands of hours doing this. I'm just trying to raise the general intelligence of the top tier of population, the top 10% of people who want to go deeper. I'm trying to work with that top 10% yourself, right? You want higher consciousness, you want self-actualization, that top 10% of the population. I want us to go further. That's my role. My entire life, that's my role. So, that means I read a lot of silly books. Way too many books at the early stages, and then for this year I'm going to teach. I'm going to film about 220 videos for the School of Self-Integration. I'm going to do these live streams every week, do at least one video every week, do community posts at least twice per week, do newsletters, do teaching, do private client work, do everything that I possibly can. So thank you for being here. Let's check in with the chat. I see, coming in real time from Wreckers Parvai. Hope I'm getting that correct. I found you last week. I can't thank you enough for just one comment. Please keep going, and I'll put in the work to read. Champion. Checking the live stream chat over here. Welcome as well. I'm going to move back on the chat. I'm going to come back to people who had gave me a question earlier on, and then we'll do quick fire questions. If you want your question answered and you're watching in real time, put your question in now, and I will get round to you. Something that I could answer in about 1 to 3 minutes. I'm going to try and get through as many people as I possibly can. Let's have a little moment where I can give something to you in real time that you'd find practical. This is your opportunity. Put the question in the chat. I'm seeing now. Jelaine Voles said about a few minutes ago, I want to work on my dissociative somatic shadow. Therefore, I'm reading Trauma and the Soul and the Betrayal of the Body, but still missing the practical implications for the dissociative tendencies. If you're missing some of the practical implications for dissociation, my strong suggestion for anyone who's struggling with dissociation is that firstly, you need to clean up your diet and get your sobriety in control. Drink, drugs, cigarettes, caffeine, sugar. Really, you need to pay more attention to this than most people. Exercise, fitness, nature immersion. Those are the really practical things that allow the ideological dissociative framework to become a materialized, emotionally safe place to then start existing even more inside. To be expressive in a healthy body means that you need to cut away the things that would encourage you to leave your body. Single sentence. Remove the conditions that make you want to run away from your own flesh. Remove the conditions that make you want to run away from your own flesh. It'll really help. And good luck. Sing in the chat now. Shashank said, I just read Invisible Partners and Jung's Map of the Soul. Thank you, Jordan. Fantastic reads. Very good. Albert said, I'm meeting feeling alone. Parentless, loud, shameless morning after a night of seeking connection and affection. I can't stop looking outside. Shame, guilt, unlovable, alone. Albert, are you talking about sexual adventures of the misguided variety? Are you talking about heading out to the club and grinding up on the girls in a way that leaves you feeling shameful and disrespectful? You're talking about going on Tinder, going on Bumble, going down to the red light district? What are we talking about? Is that where I'm going? I mean, if we're talking about the sexual shame and the night of seeking pleasure and affection, it could be seeking women or seeking men, if that's your preference. Women seeking men. Let's make it generalized. If you're in the shadow sexual compulsion of seeking outside affection in a low consciousness way, in a self-degrading way, what's going on there, and how is it going to affect you if you let this continue throughout all of 2025? Come on. Like, I don't like clicking. I don't click very often, but you might be listening to me in the background. Many people who are watching this, I'm in the background while they're driving or they're cooking. Most people who are intelligent and creative do struggle with sexual compulsion. Pornography addiction. If they're successful and charismatic and maybe a little bit narcissistic, they can go out to the club or go on the dates and get lots of validation and sexual attraction. If they have the intelligence and creativity, they've got all the libido and they've got the skills to be able to make it work. If you're in that trap, if you're still stuck with the compulsive urge, my best advice for you is that. It's that little window of opportunity. Albert said, I'm here, yes, club cruising, etc. Right? So we're on the right line. Little demonstration. Silence. Silence is your teacher here. I can get practical. I've done an entire module in the Shadow Work Library. In the Shadow Work Library curriculum, Module 7 is shadow sexuality. Some of my best work. I talk about shadow compulsions, about conscious relationships, about attachments to pornography, about tantric practices, about things like even BDSM and kink. We talk about that in the Shadow Work Library because I can talk about it because it's not on YouTube and I don't have to filter myself, so I can talk about real human shit. That's in the private link in the description. Pay a bit of money, you get my best stuff. It's just how it works. Free advice that I can talk about on YouTube. Silence. Live on purpose at Join the Shadow Work Library, guys. I support it. Worth it. I'm not paying these students. I'm not paying these students. They're paying me. They're having a good experience. They're getting back more than they receive, I hope. By God's grace, I hope they're getting back more than they paid, because it's quite a low price for what I'm offering for this year. Just pay attention to what's out there. This is only going to be this year. It's only this year. I'm going against all business advice. I should be charging way more. I'm doing very silly business moves because my heart needs to make it as accessible as I can. Because my mentorship's very inaccessible for most people. So I need to try and bring it as low as possible. Just link in the description. Shadow sexuality and shadow compulsion. The silent space in between. Pay attention. When I was overcoming my pornography addiction, I noticed that I was the most vulnerable. Late at night, between tasks. Finish my work, not quite bed. What fills the gap? I didn't personally have club cruising as one of my behaviors. I've worked with many men who've struggled with going through issues of either, they're working long days and then they want to let off some steam. However they choose to do that, in legal or illegal ways. I don't support any of it in terms of thinking it's a good choice. It's their private stories, but usually it happens in that silent space between. One task finishes, the next task hasn't quite begun. Something happens there. If you really pay attention to sexual compulsion, you will feel one of three things. I'm going to wrap up on this because I can make a whole video about this, and I've talked about it, as I said, 3 hours to 4 hours inside the Shadow Work Library on sexual compulsion, sexual shadow, and the trauma-related narratives. I mean, before that, we look at shame and guilt and self-destruction. There's a whole module. Module 3 is on self-destruction. There's a module on shame and guilt. There's a module on trauma. There's a module on shadow sexuality. It's all of these themes, so consider joining if you want to get proper structured material and exercises and books. Opening up the space. One of three things happens. One of three compulsions, one of three reaches happens. With pornography, you reach with your eyes. You want to be titillated, quite literally. You want to see something. With your genitals, it's a reach, it's a rise and a reach. You want to be in something. Crucially, look at that dehumanizing language that I just used. I don't agree with it. I'm talking about the psychology. Men who are stuck in that compulsion, they want to be in something, not someone, not a woman that they love. Something they want to fuck. And that's different from making love. And that's why the classic pattern of this is the male member. You wrap around, you're in something, you're stimulating, you're simulating being in something. The pornographic gaze reaches outwards. You rise up and you want to be in something from the bottom coming up. And then if you really pay attention to that space in between, you might notice, if you don't jump too quickly, that once the initial gazing and scrolling goes away, and the desire to wrap around yourself and aggressively do this, don't do either of those. Give it an extra minute, give it an extra 2 minutes, and you'll notice, every single man that I've worked with notices this if they sit there long enough. There's something in here that really wants to be fulfilled instead. It's almost always love. It's almost always, sad to say, an attempt to resolve the love that wasn't given there before, either in their current relationship with the person that they're meant to be loving with, or in the previous relationship, or in a family situation from the past. This is where the gap is. Don't let the eyes reach. Don't let the hands wrap around. Same principles for women. Don't let the eyes reach. Don't let the fingers go in. I'm being explicit. It's my live stream. I talk about this stuff all the time with my clients. Very, very explicit material. I can't do too much of it on YouTube, but that's the nature of things. Just pay attention. I see tens in the chat. Am I able to purchase a shadow work library in the US if it's in pounds? Yes, you are. About 70% of the students inside the shadow work library are in the US. The checkout page is in pounds, but it will automatically convert problem-free into US dollars on your side, and there won't be any extra charges, to my understanding. It's just a checkout page, so you can Google convert what the price would be. And you're going to pay roughly that. You'll see that on your credit card statement. So you can join. Most people are American, and that's why the time zone for the Sunday calls is at 7 p.m. UK, which means the Californians will have an afternoon call, and the East Coast will have an early evening call, or late afternoon call, more technically speaking. That's the sexual shadow question. Hopefully that's helped, Albert. I wish I could go into more detail, but pay attention to those 3 compulsions. The reach with the eyes, the rise and desire to wrap around and be in something, not someone, something, containment, holding. I said to somebody recently, one of my clients, this gesture, I'm gonna do it for you. It's embarrassing to do this, but it'll land in your memory. Every man that struggles with this gesture, as a teenager, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, you're wrapping around, you're watching pornography. Okay, what's going on there? Yes, it's your male genitals happening. It's a progression of an earlier self-soothing gesture that you repress in your late childhood. It's really interesting. Which gesture do you think it is? Which gesture do you have as a baby or a toddler? A self-comforting gesture that you do with your own body that becomes something else 10 years later when you're a teenager and you start watching porn for the first time. If anyone guesses this in the chat, which body gesture, you get an award. You get the award of somatic self-awareness. I'll demonstrate it if no one else guesses this, but I'm going to give it a minute. What do babies do to self-comfort? Joe Wild, got him. Straight away. It's not just Freudian psychology. It's doing something that completes the circuit. Betrayal of the body. I might find the diagram, might be able to find it in here in terms of the tubular nature of the inner being. I hope I can. Your body is a tube from mouth to anus, and the rectal situation and the genital situation go into much more detail, but for the sake of trying to find, if I can, in this book, it might be in one of Alexander Lowen's different books. I think it might be. Yeah, we haven't got it in here. But the whole idea of the body being a tube. Imagine mouth all the way through. Instead, we've got much more technical diagrams and other things related to different occurrences and different character structures. I mean, this is a very detailed diagram, but you'll see if you read the book. The thumb-sucking motion. You will notice in that space in between, if you're a grown man, energetically, it's the end of the workday, you're fucking exhausted. You masturbating to pornography is the energetic equivalent for the wounded inner child of sucking your thumb when you're anxious. I don't suck my thumb when I'm anxious anymore. Unless it's been a really bad day. I don't, I'm joking around. So why? I'm free of this for 5 years. It's a substance. It's an old pattern. You can get over this. Let's see what else we've got in the comment section. Gonna go scroll back down through the comments that came here earlier, the questions that came in. That was a great discussion. Again, as I've been recommending, Shadow Work Library, community and course, it is the best work on this that I've found on the internet. I'm biased, of course, I made it. Got an entire module on shadow sexuality, and I've got another entire module on self-destruction. Each of the modules has between 3 and 5 of the best books on the topic from around the world of the last 120 years. If you enjoy this conversation and you like the way that I discuss things in ways that you maybe haven't heard before, this is me doing it on a live stream with an awareness I'm trying to be entertaining for the 70 or so people who are watching live and the couple thousand that may watch on replay. Inside the Shadow Work Library, I dissolve all of that. I do one-on-one. I teach in a proper way. I start as if the class is starting. It's like, okay, today we're talking about this. Bam, information, education, exercises, dozens of practical exercises. That's what I do over there. You kind of got a little flavor of this here. Live on purpose is coming through. Not kidding, it's worth it, people. It seems like I've paid. I haven't. I just haven't. I'm just very grateful for the students. Albert, thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for everyone who's supporting the Shadow Work Library mission. I really do believe in what we're doing over there. I was very proud of the self-paced course. Again, if you purchase Shadow Work Library, you get the course, which is a self-paced curriculum of over 100 videos, 36-book curriculum, and you get the live community. We're doing weekly calls every Sunday, high-level conversations, high-level group discussions, group accountability every single Sunday, January and February, throughout the year, every other week. And if things go very well and more people join, I might feel inspired to add even more calls throughout the year, but I'm not going to promise that up front, but I'm considering it because people are joining. Let's see what's coming up in the chat, shall we? I see, going down the chat now, going to Jules. How can I integrate the lover archetype more? Jules Windmolders. How can I integrate the lover archetype more? You know what? I think we just covered that. Changing the way that you relate to your sexuality is one of the primary steps for any man or woman. If you're looking for a non-sexual way to have more of the lover energy, strip back the idea from loving a human to loving as love. We're getting a bit more spiritual here. To love as love. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. That's what you need to focus on. For me personally, I love through nature. I love through my work. I love through my relationship with my soul, with God, with higher purpose. If you can filter your life through authentic love, it's not about the man or woman you find attractive. It's not about the romantic relationship. Everything becomes loving. But that means perceiving and appreciating and being grateful. My advice to you, my friend, practice more gratitude in an embodied way. Add more love into the small things you do. Beautify your life a bit. Beautify your work. It'll really help. Really help. Continuing now to the next question. I see from A. Hi, this is my first time here on the live stream, so hello everyone. To answer the question on what shadow has been popping up for me is my anger in the form of bitterness and resentment. At the very start of the stream, I asked people, well, what shadows are you suffering from right now? Bitterness and resentment. A topic that's very close to my heart because I've been a resentful man before. My best advice for you in terms of managing those resentments is to give yourself a 24-hour window of not letting that communication backlog start to build up. In last Sunday's video, the very first point, if you watch the video from last Sunday, the 25 signs you won't thrive in 2025, where I held up the Porn Myth book and it's me kind of like doing this and it's got the eyeball on it. If you remember that one, first point I said, the communication backlog. When things irritate you throughout the day, someone's been getting on your nerves and you store it all somewhere in the backlog. Big things, small things, everything in between. And eventually, you crack, you snap. They do something small. They don't take out the trash. They're 2 minutes late to get to an appointment and you blow up on them. The anger comes out because the resentment was seething and polluting you at your roots. You have a communication backlog. It's the classic dynamic within romantic relationship conflict. Yeah, well, remember what you did last month, or yeah, well, remember what you didn't do 26 years ago. It's trash consciousness. You're so much better than that. Resentment is eating you away at the core. It is making your bones brittle. It is weakening your spirit. The way to resolve this is firstly dump it into the journal in a private way, and if you have serious conversations that need to be had with people who are close to you. Do that with compassion and courage and forgiveness and grace, but don't let that linger on for too long. You can do it. It's my advice to you. Looking at the next question. From Make 1984, fiction again. Actually, no, the other question first from Pepsol. From going into psychotherapy, in which ways can you deal with your triggers and unresolved issues to not project or be biased with people? Question. Which ways can you deal with your triggers to not project or be biased with people? Unfortunately, my friend, that's an impossibility. Looking for my lion's mane chaga latte. It's an impossibility. You can't not be biased. Can't not be biased. It's a childish fantasy to think that you can get to objectivity. It's actually the scientists, it's infantile scientism. Even the most rigorous of analytical scientists, this over here is a series of more scientific books, right over there. It's like New Age science, about 60 or 70 books now, all of the quantum physics stuff. I don't care about it too much, but I went through a stage where I was reading it. Oh, fantastic. Even within the scientific world, a study is established in such a way that you have a pre-expectation of the kind of results that you're going to get, and that changes the expectation and the outcome of the study itself. The objective mind is potentially a thing. There is such a thing as objective reality. But if you understand Ken Wilber's framework of the different quadrants of the psyche, the interior and the exterior, the objective and the subjective, I won't go into it in all the detail just now. But your subjective inner reality, your biases and perceptions will never be resolved. What you can resolve is your ability to catch the projection when it launches and be able to assess, again in that same concept as earlier, the spaciousness between one thing and another thing. The projection launches through psychic space. The projection is something that we project out of us to come into contact or relationship with someone else or an object or an environment. That's always going to happen. It's automatic. It's automatic. Don't try and free yourself of the biases. Be aware of them, detach from them, but know that you're always going to have a bias projection. For example, for me, my bias projection works in my favor a lot of the time. Sometimes it doesn't work to my favor. I've talked about this before on the channel. I speak about this in most of the clients that I work with because I bring it up front. When I ask at the end of the client consultation session, the very first pre-session, before we've even decided to work together, imagine you and me were considering working together. We're going to spend a few hours in voice notes together over a couple of weeks. And then, okay, this seems to be going well, the interview process seems to be going well, I'm going to invite you onto a call. We're going to call for 90 minutes or 2 hours, sometimes it's 2.5 hours, before we even agree to work together, because it's a 4-month commitment. I want us to be fucking sure that this is what we want to do. It's very intense. I say, towards the end of that first consultation, I'm kind of ruining it. Should I say it? Should I say it? Because now I take away the power of one of the questions in the consultations for future clients, maybe yourself, if I say it out loud. I said, live on purpose, saying please. I spill the beans. Do I let it out? It's about the shadow. I said, no then. Real-time moment, I'm reading the chat. But in essence, not the same question. I'll save that question for don't ruin the process. I agree. Thank you for the guidance from the chat. Don't ruin the process of spilling all the beans of the magic of what happens of getting towards a mentorship. I'll approach it from a different angle. Someone else said I'd like to know. King's Affirmation 111, I'm sure you would. Ritesh says don't. High quality consciousness here of people saying keep your trade secrets. Fantastic. I will keep my trade secrets. So one of the things that I suffer from in a more ambiguous sense or in an overall sense is that in terms of my biases and projections, I project the best in all circumstances. I am very optimistic about things. I had to be. I was a child who grew up in a home that I didn't want to be in. If you know my story, you know that I did not enjoy my childhood. I was quite suicidal. I was deeply depressive. From age 10 until roughly my early 20s, let's call it 12 years. Very, 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 very dark. I hated my inner existence. So, as a compensatory strategy, I had a different part of my psyche that switched online, a life-saving part, as it were. Golden shadow projection. It gets better in the future. Here's the candle. The night is dark and full of terrors, as a famous wise figure once said. Up in the north, night is dark and full of terrors. Focus on this candle. That's the bright light. 95% of my visual field is darkness, but there is one light on the horizon, and that is what I focused on. And I reinforced that throughout all of my childhood, through my ambitions and my dreams. And that is now, unfortunately, my bias towards all of life. It works many times in my favor, but I have a golden shadow projection. There's a very classic Marie-Louise von Franz quote, I think from The Problem of the Pueritonis. It could be in either of these two books. I will show you right now. A famous Jungian psychologist. Bam, there it is. You've got 4 seconds to screenshot. Go grab your phone if you're watching in real time. 3, 2, 1. That was your last chance ever. Unless you're watching on replay, in which case you can go back. These are 2 classic books. I don't recommend that you read this book. I recommend that you read that book. High Level Inner Child Works, got a pine tree on the front. Can't complain. Woman after my own heart. But Marie-Louise von Franz, fantastic psychologist that she was, there's a section where she's actually, no, it's not in that book. It's in Jean Shinoda Boland's Goddesses in Every Woman, which is up there, but referring to Marie-Louise von Franz. It's somewhere in the middle of the book, around page 110, 120, I think, if I remember correctly, this quote. She's talking about this archetypal issue. And it really touched me when I read this about 4 years ago, this particular challenge with Marie-Louise von Franz. Talking about Marion Woodman, kind of going backwards and forwards, and all kinds of things are happening. My dear, how I suffer. I believe that all my geese are swans. All of your geese are swans. That was my projective bias, and it still is. I see potential in everything. I see the growth possibility in everything, and it works in my favor as a coach and a teacher, but it does get in the way. It does really get in the way sometimes. So I have to watch out for that bias, but I'm not going to remove all of it completely, and I wouldn't want to remove the ability to be able to be connected, quite frankly, with my higher self and my higher vision for the world. So that's what I recommend in terms of, don't worry about the bias. We'll go back on the chat. I know I said quick fire Q&A. You can tell that Jordan likes going pretty deep on questions. Picked up. Good to see you. I see Ardash saying, I love you so much. Well, I don't know you personally, but if it's the higher love of the highest form, then there may be love flowing in your direction, but I won't personalize it because it's still technically a parasocial relationship and a one-sided relationship. And if a man on a video in a library says, I love you directly to you, even if I look at eye contact right now, it creates a certain psychological effect. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say it down here while scrolling my phone because I'm aware of the energetics. I don't want to create false projective dynamics. So I'm not going to do that. Other YouTubers might. Don't do it. It's bullshit. It's manipulative. So I'm not going to do it, even if it's not intentionally manipulative. Blah, 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 blah. Back in the chat. Let's see what people are saying. I see in the chat, Nick Bergstrom. Meeting the shadow has helped me tremendously reflect on my shadow traits and behaviors, in particular with my addictions. Journaling is a must outside of reading. I agree, it's not a question, but anyone that's joining live, if they haven't seen already, Meeting the Shadow, one of 6 books I recommend you read in 2025. Link in the description, you'll get the other 5. Nice natural rhyming there. I will go with that. My marketing department will be happy with me. It's also me. I am the marketing department. Seeing a few things here in the chat as we're scrolling down, going further and further. If I didn't get to your question, please post it back in so I can answer it. Jack George said, what do you say to the people who say that depth psychology is better replaced by models such as social exchange theory? Jack, I have no idea what social exchange theory is. If you're still here watching the live, what is social exchange theory? I'm not up to date with this. I've never heard of it. I'd love to be educated. Please let me know and I can answer the question. But of course I can't properly answer the question because I'll be learning about something for the first time. So I can't give any informed opinion on that because I'd just be conjecturing, which is actually not very good at all. Going back in on chat, I know it's a little bit quieter right now, but you know what? I see a question coming in right now from Holistic Fathering. We're going to answer your question, brother. I'm dealing now with a lot of shit, but one topic is about thinking why I can't enjoy as much as other people. Some entertaining plans without depth and meaning. I believe I'm only comparing myself. Can you expand on that a bit more, my friend? The idea here is that entertaining plans without depth. What do you mean in particular? Do you mean that people are making plans for fun and you find that you can't really engage with it? Or do you mean like entertaining the plan, like considering the plan without depth and meaning, that it's not exciting for you to get involved with things that don't have depth and purpose and deeper insight? Let me know, I'll come back to you. I see Dylan in the chat. It's been a while, Jordan. How are you doing? What were your biggest transformations through shadow work, and how did you let go of the existence I was used to? It's about me, but it's a question. Make this quick. Biggest transformation in shadow work. 2 shadows in particular. My sexual shadow and my somatic shadow. I spoke about the sexual shadow early on. Quitting pornography and being on the semen retention journey was incredibly transformative for me. If you're new to my story, new to my channel, you might not know that semen retention is something that I personally practice. I don't talk about it too much because I believe that the whole no-fap semen retention space on YouTube is a little bit corny at times, but objectively speaking, I've been on an unbroken streak since December 21st, 2019, which is 5 years of semen retention. I don't use pornography, still sexually active, still, you know, non-ejaculatory sex, but I don't use porn or masturbate or ejaculate or do these old things. I don't find it very inspiring or uplifting, so I don't do it. And the benefits of 5 years of retention and not being on that cycle, that is a journey worth taking if you're paying attention. If you're interested in how I've read all these books, if you're interested in my energy and why I am the man that I am, just consider what happens when I'm not doing the energetic equivalent of sucking my thumb every night while watching digital strangers bumping up against each other. Just see what happens to your consciousness as a man. It is so incredibly rewarding. That's the first thing. Second personal thing in terms of shadow work has been my somatic shadow. Again, reading books like The Betrayal of the Body, one of the top 10 books in my library. I'm repeating and repeating and repeating because we went over just earlier. If you were joining live, we went over to the bookshelf. Watch the replay, you can see all the books that I was sharing. I'll go back and screenshot them. Doing this. Yeah. Somatic shadow work was fantastic. Getting back in my body and grounding. Seeing in the chat, King Affirmation, amazing. That's something that Qigong masters teach, transmuting sexual energy into Qi. Yeah, that's true. This shelf over here, that is my sex and relationship shelf. You can see, interestingly, look, there's more pink, there's more red, whereas other shelves, for example, this is the integral psychology, that's more Jungian psychology over here. They have different color palettes, which is fascinating, isn't it? This is the sex and love shelf over here. There's plenty of books on tantra and sexual mastery, but unfortunately, as a YouTuber, if I make topics on certain videos a little bit too often, you attract a certain type of audience and then you become pigeonholed into a certain category of online teacher, and I do not want to be primarily perceived by the YouTube algorithm as a sex coach or sex teacher, even though 90% of the clients that I work with do talk about sexual traumas, sexual abuses. I've worked with many clients who've had horrific, disgusting things happen to the past, and we've worked together to try and heal them so they can be free of that in the future, as well as just the more day-to-day upgrading of relationships and sexuality and consciousness. A lot of men that I work with will use the opportunity of working with me to finally overcome the vice of pornography and ejaculation, and women who I'm working with will either go from sexual shutdown into sexual health or from sexual overcharge into a more moderated sex life. Generally speaking, if that's their intention, I mirror what someone wants. I don't force anyone to go anywhere in particular. A woman comes to me who has too many sexual activities and too many sexual partners, and they want to bring it back in so they can find the one who they want to build with that depth. We will find a way to turn that energy around. Vice versa, they shut down, they're not very experienced, they want to get more experience out there. Part of the mentorship, one of the strands, the sexuality strand, in addition to the business or the intellect or the personal trauma healing, that all comes in. I talk about it more behind the scenes because I have to by necessity, because unfortunately YouTube is not the place for me to be able to build too much of that. But somatic shadow work and sexual shadow work is what's worked for me. Let's go into the chat now. Oh, I see a great question there. If you feel comfortable sharing, what was the most horrifying shadow you unearthed from your own psyche in your journey? Oh, that's a vulnerable share. What is the most horrifying shadow that I've emerged? Oh, you know what? I know what it is. I know what it is. I'll share it with you. Happily share it with you. This was 5 years ago. 5 years ago. 5 years ago during a fast for my birthday. My birthday's in April. I did some shadow work. I did a 3-day fast. I don't eat. I'll drink water. I'll decaffeinate and I'll taper off in the week beforehand. I'll drink water, maybe some lemon, maybe some salt. I see Claire in the chat with €2.49. Super chat. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll put that into my shadow and, yeah, maybe add a little bit of extra force to the story I'm about to share. I appreciate you. I was doing this fast 5 years ago. 3-day fast. You empty out. First day, kind of adjusting. Second day, you're properly feeling the emptiness. And on the third day, you really do feel confronted with yourself. I went through 25 to 30 of these fasts. If you don't know my story, I've been through many, many fasting experiences. This wasn't one that promised to be particularly magical or particularly important. It was just a birthday fast. How can I celebrate my birthday? Give myself the gift that I really need. That's going to be eating nothing and emptying myself out. But I went in with the intention of shadow work. It was about 5 years ago. It was when I was just starting this library project at the end of my 2 years of volunteer travel. Bit of context so you can see kind of where I was at psychologically. I'd done all the basic self-development. I'd listened to the podcast for a few years. I'd been reading a few of the popular books, but I hadn't really started reading actual deeper books like Meeting the Shadow. This is a foundational book. This isn't even that deep compared to how deep goes, but I was reading books like this. Probably read this book just a few months earlier. And I knew I needed to do some active imagination. I needed to go into my fasted state. I sat outside in my garden on the steps. I got some steps going down into the lower tier of the garden. I went into the active imagination. Closed my eyes. Settled myself down. I can't remember the exact question that I asked. It's something along the lines of, I want to meet my darkest part. I want to meet the part of me that will fuck this all up. Something like that. It was about 40 or 50 hours deep into a fast. Can't remember exactly. It's 5 years ago. Want to meet my darkest part. And I saw, very immediately, in my imagination, a great, grand palace. Royal. Columns, pillars, going all the way down. Game of Thrones-esque big throne. My courtiers and my knights lined up on the sides. The people gathered down there. There I am on the throne. The king, the ruler. Hushed everyone out. Everyone leaves. I saw that first vision. Full courtroom. Hush everyone out. Doors closed. Big oaken doors. Boom. And I turned around. Behind the throne, a balcony. Saunter out onto the balcony. A king's robe. All in my active imagination while I'm fasting. Very immediate visualization. Out there like this, all happening automatically, my darkest part. And at the moment, it doesn't seem very dark. It seems very kingly, very regal. Nothing was off. Go outside like this. Very like Mussolini on the balcony. If you've ever seen that classic historical image of Mussolini. Fascist dictator. Pillars, balcony, and looking down, courtyard in front of me. Huge courtyard, classic dictator's courtyard. Big stone buildings, big flags. Think of all the regimes around the world that have caused the most damage and harm and destruction to humanity. That's what I saw. And I saw, very specifically, thousands of people all lined up, all cheering. Jordan, Jordan. We love you. Woo. This was 5 years ago, before I'd even done YouTube. I had a couple thousand followers on Instagram. I hadn't even started coaching full time. I dabbled a bit. Saw this 5 years ago. Woo, yeah, we love you. And there I am, Mussolini-esque. I didn't fail to see why they were cheering. In the courtyard like this. I'm here, in the courtyard like this. From every angle, my knights, my soldiers, my bodyguards, with spears, pointing in the backs, and in the back rows, people were being stabbed, gutted, and dropped to the floor. They were being compressed in, and they were being coerced to cheer. And the crowd was getting smaller as the army was going round the back, the blood was seeping down. And I gave this grand speech about improving the world. This grand speech. People were dying down there. Didn't really matter too much. I was connecting with the inner tyrant, the dark side of the Shadow King. That's what I saw. And when I then got the final round of applause, the bodies are on the floor, I went back in, sauntered back in, the doors again to the balcony closed, I'm in the throne room, and guess what? All of the women, dozens and dozens of naked women, there they are. All of the riches, all the treasures, there it is. The men lining up with the praise and the bows. It was all there. I saw the image. This is in my active imagination. If you're tuning in real time, this is 5 years ago. I was doing a meditation, painting the picture. Someone asked me, what is the darkest part that I've ever encountered? What happened next? On the principle active imagination, it's time to make it active. It wasn't just a passive visualization. I knew that I needed to enter the scene. So here I am 50 hours deep into the fast, in the throne room with all the riches, having just seen the slaughter in the plaza, the fake, forced love of the people, the self-indulgent, self-enrichment, sexual shadow, financial shadow, the power, the status gone bad, the corruption. I'm in contact with this part. I asked, what is the darkest part of my psyche? That's the part I saw. Usually it's the part that you're actually in reach of actualizing the most likely. My darkest part isn't something related to something which I couldn't be. The darkest part is that which you could be if you chose the wrong timeline. I went into the visualization nonetheless. Everyone cleared out. Tyrant King was initially my first person perspective, but also my third person perspective. When I'm doing active imagination, sometimes I'll be in first person, other times I'll see from above. Even just describing it there, I have kind of floating consciousness as if it were a movie scene. But I experienced this in the meditation. Went into the active imagination. Tyrant King becomes separate from me. I go in as the man that I was 5 years ago. I stand face to face from that inner tyrant. I ask him, what are you doing this for? Very directly, what are you doing this for? Can't remember exactly what he said, but it's something like the money, the power, the status, the fame. It's what I need to be doing. It's what I need to do. It's what must be done. It's all, it's the right thing. Confronted him. No, but what are you really doing this for? Very classic active imagination technique. Ask the first question, then ask the second question. You can do this in your own practice. What are you really doing this for? His facial expression dropped. Still, like this, but rather than sort of a softening, a window of softening. There was silence. I saw him weaken a little bit. Just a little bit. This literally happened. This literally happened. This was in my imagination 5 years ago. Can't remember the exact dialogue. It's a long, drawn-out process, but effectively it came to a crescendo moment. I know that I've been talking about this for a while, where the conversation continued, and I kept asking questions. I kept saying, what are you really doing this for? And eventually, the answer, I want to be loved. And I gave him a hug, and the Tyrant King cried on my shoulder and shrunk to the size of a little boy. The darkest part was the wounded inner child, and the wounded inner child, given power that he couldn't wield without the morality and the ethics to temper his greed and his compulsions, became the Tyrant King. And from that moment, before I'd even built the YouTube channel, before I'd even built my client practice, before I'd started working with vulnerable people, I saw that ahead of time during my fast, 50 hours deep, 60 hours deep, I can't remember exactly, but it was on my birthday. It was on my birthday. That's how much I care about this. That's what I've been doing behind the scenes for all these years, and I don't know, by God's grace, if I will escape all of the shadows. But part of what I've been sharing in this live stream about my ethics of business and not making money in shady ways and trying to do everything I can from the highest possible timeline is really, really what I'm trying to do here. Because what's the point of doing any different? It's your soul that loses. It's my soul that loses if I do any different, if I play any weird games. That was the darkest shadow I encountered. And I hope you appreciate the story. I can see in the chat a few different people saying that they appreciate me going that deep and expanding that significantly. Take a moment to decompress on that one. That was quite intense. I feel it as I'm sharing. It was a real risk back then, but 5 years deep and 87,000 on the channel, and the client work, the community, the money that I'm fortunate to receive from my work. I'm watching out for it, but it doesn't feel like a risk anymore because I know that it's not really a tyrant, it's a wounded inner child, and I've taken care of that wounded inner child and continue to do so as well. I see in the chat, I feel it, wow, thank you for sharing, Jordan. You are brave, dude. Thank you. I see Victor as well, saying that they love that. Fascinating from Claire. Kenneth says thank you. Thank you. Didn't expect that I'd go into that story, but that is my shadow work behind the scenes. If you see me talking about the Shadow Work Library and why I want you to join the course and community, it's because I've spent the years healing myself and integrating my shadow while reading the material to then be a presenter and a teacher with the energy of the material being something that I am more or less to the best of my ability. When I'm teaching on the Shadow Archetypes, Module 2 in the Shadow Work Library, we talk about the archetypes. Maybe the 4th lesson in, we're talking about the dark side of the masculine. When I talk about the tyrant, I've spent the time meeting the tyrant. Trust me, I spent the time. I see in the chat, one of my students, guys, seriously join it, great people, great ideas, and great learning opportunity. I see Nick, deeply grateful and appreciative of your honesty and insights of your own shadow work. Kenneth says we're all psychic beings, yeah, we are all psychic beings. Claire saying this is so helpful for sharing this, thank you. Yes, why and why? We all just want to be loved at the end of the day. We do all want to be loved. Goes back to the previous question about how to be a better lover. It all matters. Kenneth said, I felt all capitals insane until I found you. Brother, I've been there. I've been there. And also, you're not finding me. Fundamentally, you're not finding me. You know, you found me, but I know you found this. You found this. I have a temporary role. Yeah, it's not me. It's a tradition. It's 120 years of tradition. The encouragement in the chat to join the Shadow Work Library is nearing excessive levels of enthusiasm. I'm seeing this coming through in the chat. Need to watch out for all of our shadow parts, but I can guarantee that you know, kingly energy is what we go for, not tyrant energy. But I appreciate the support in the chat. Let's take it somewhere in particular. A few minutes of decompression. Again, I didn't get back to all the questions earlier on. If you're still here and you were watching live half an hour ago and you asked a question I didn't get back to, please put that question back in the chat now. I know, Holistic Fathering, you asked a question. If you are still here, my friend, I can see actually here, you said, it's very complicated to express in a few characters my thoughts because it requires a lot of context, but only hope you can help with wide and general brushstrokes. I'm referring to the previous question. You said, I don't know if I'm, okay. I've got your question, brother, I've got your question. So we've got a long question here. We'll answer it together. Young man trying to solve his world. His inner world, his outer world, put it together, let's all focus. Yes, I believe I'm not in that stage that I was with a high spiritual ego, but I find people having fun and being happy without any apparent purpose, only doing the compulsive life, university student thing. So yeah, I get it. Like you're in that environment where you're in university, you're focused on the inner work, you're reading these kinds of books, you're doing your weird things late at night, reading all the Jungian psychology, and guess what? You don't quite want to go to the party, and you can hear the like wild music going down the street or something like this, and you're like, can't I just be left alone with Alexander Lowen? Can't I just read by candlelight and be a romantic 18th century young man and learn how to heal my shadow? Yeah, I get it. I was likewise exactly the same. I remember those days. I still did a bit of partying, still drank, still smoked. I used to smoke weed, smoke cigarettes. That was what I was like at university. So I didn't go all the way in. I've healed some of that. But continuing your question, you then go further to say, I don't know if I'm projecting my frustrations. I believe part of this is a comparison with myself to others, but I don't really know. Don't fully understand your question, but I suppose the essence of what we're talking about here is how to be a normal person in normal environments and be around, let's call it low consciousness behaviors, or at least normal default, less intentional behaviors like partying or drinking, to be able to be around that but not be overly affected by that, not feel like you have to compulsively join in with what other people are doing, and to still maintain your authenticity as a man who wants to get ahead. Anyone who wants to get ahead, a man or a woman. You want to get ahead or you want to go deeper. Get ahead into yourself. Go deeper into yourself. Go deeper into the outer world. Have I heard of Alice Miller? Of course I have. Alice Miller's got about 4 or 5 books over there. Drama of the Gifted Child. Recommended it only recently to one of my clients. Fantastic child psychologist. My advice for you, my friend, in a simple sentence of how can you balance the inner world and the outer world, I think you're already doing it. I think maybe what you need to pay attention to is giving yourself the permission slip. Cheesy as it is, give yourself the permission slip to be yourself. You can enjoy the outer world. You can enjoy or not enjoy the things that people do. But you can be yourself all the while. If you want to read books, read books. If you want to spend time with someone that you love or care about and not do what other people care about, do it that way. Be the leader. You've got that leader consciousness about you. You've got that capacity to step up and, like, I know you're in different social environments, but I've seen people who are in very social environments. I've worked with people who are in entertainment and they're around drinking and partying and very high levels. You know, it's kind of their world. They don't need to fall all the way down. They can raise it to another level. It's the way that you do these things that really matters. And I hope that helps. I'll move now. We'll continue maybe through to about half an hour, total an hour and a half. We'll go to about 90 minutes and then I will start wrapping up the live stream because we have gone for a long time here. And I'm aware that everyone only has so much time in a day. But if you're watching on replay, then you'll see the timestamp and you'll just click onto the next section and you might see me answering the following question, which I don't yet know that I'm going to find, but let's find a question. Robert Satya, do you know any rare bioenergetic exercises to release all the repressed tension of the eyes? Yes, I do. As my phone drops down. It's not a rare bioenergetic exercise. Alexander Lowen had a practice in terms of the tension of the eyes, in terms of this is really specific stuff, so thank you for answering the question. Alexander Lowen, in one of his books, had a practice where he would lean over the client and he would open their eyes like this. Like that. He would do this. So the client would be looking up with eyes like this. This is next level stuff. Look how weird I look, right? This is brand, this is niche. This is niche. This isn't your first somatic therapy class, right? Don't do this. This is with an expert in proper conditions. What he would do is he would exaggerate the startle response. And by exaggerating the startle response, he's holding the eyes open of a consenting client. He would then look down in a way that would trigger old, deep memories of being very small, very little, 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, and the father or mother figure bearing down. And what would naturally happen through a lot of his work is that something would happen here, or either they'd start twitching, and the fear would come through, they'd start weeping, they'd blink all the way through, and they'd be opened again. Very intense processes happen. But it was an exaggeration of the feeling first, and then more happened after that. That's a very niche technique. It might be politically incorrect to do that now, maybe because it's 1960s, that's not allowed. I don't know, I think there's a lot of cowardliness in modern therapy, and two consenting adults can go quite far. I understand regulations and boundaries and safety, and at the same time, you know, there's talk therapy only goes so far. The mainstream somatic therapy only goes so far. I'm not going to name any names, but other somatic teachers that are out there, or trauma therapy specialists, they're not doing this shit. They're not doing it. They've got workshops and seminars and big podcast appearances, and it's easy to just play at the base level of, oh, we've all got our trauma and let's heal. Real deal stuff is exaggerating responses at times, or going into absolute painful states in safe, consenting, truly safe environments. Exactly. Someone said that would cripple me, lol, I have CPTSD. Exactly. Like, you know yourself. Certain people who have PTSD-like symptoms wouldn't want to do this at all. For myself personally, when I was doing my own somatic shadow work, I had to go into very intense things because I had an intense childhood, and I found that the intensity allowed me to go through all the way. That is on you. I'm not recommending anyone do this necessarily to themselves. It's anecdotal. I got asked a question of any rare techniques. That's a rare technique for the eyes that came to my mind. You can read Alexander Lowen firsthand to see what the effects were in his client practice. Quite powerful stuff. It's why I love the books from the past, honestly. It's why I love the books from the past. When the Diagnostics and Statistics Manual started becoming the insurance model for American care, especially in the 80s and the 90s, late 90s especially, but it started beginning in like the early 90s, the books and the material and the courage of therapists to do like pioneering work that really made a breakthrough, people got cowardly. They got more and more cowardly, and some of the great techniques just get lost to time because we're all about evidence-based, scientifically verified, credentialed, degreed. Okay, whatever. I get it. You're not here because I'm highly credentialed and well-degreed and I'm scientifically based. I don't know some of the latest things that are going on in the world of therapy. As I showed you earlier, I've read the original 1950s attachment studies and all of the interpersonal neurobiology from Norton. Well, not all of it. I've read like all the hardcover books. There's about 70 and there's like, I don't know, 20 over here. I've read more than most of these credentialed therapists and psychologists, but I'm not as professional as them. Or maybe the standards of professionality have changed in the last 30 years, and I'm interested in what was going on in the 50s and 60s and 70s when we really had some charge, we really had some energy. It was going somewhere, and it snuffed out like the candle that's burning down, eventually extinguished. Now we've got a faker version, it's all safetified. Yes. Alex said, in your client work, is creative activity essential as reading, somatic practice, and movement? Yeah. Creative work is often important for most of my clients. Many people that I work with will be dancers, musicians, painters, artists, even creative bodybuilding is something fantastic. A lot of the people I work with will be like this. Let's see, there's a few more questions. Robert said again, I do some face fitness and there are exercises like that, looking in the mirror. Fantastic. Again, opening the eyes kind of principle. What do we have? The Black Upgrade said in the chat, as someone who's planning on getting married soon, I found your content at a perfect time. I have some stuff that I healed from. May God bless you with goodness for your work, brother. Thank you. God bless you too. I will receive if it's meant for me. Otherwise, I will keep working away, impatient timing, doing what I can. And I have pretty good faith that I'm on the right path, so it's not for me to decide. Whatever gifts and graces may come my way, I'll just keep on the path. What else do we have in the chat? Any final questions? This is your opportunity if you've been around for the full live stream. I see some conversations going backwards and forwards in the chat. What have we got? Victor saying Complex PTSD by Pete Walker is an amazing book. Agreed. Fantastic book. Recommended it to a client just this week. It's a great beginner entry point into the kind of psychosomatic, but also quite scientific world of complex trauma healing. I'll throw out a final moment. If you have a more specific question related to shadow work, like shadow work in particular, your shadow work, something that's personal for you, that would be the kind of question I'm most interested in asking, or answering even. Give me the opportunity. Nick Bergstrom, how and where did you start your volunteer work and backpack living? I did 2 years of it. What was the first place? Italy. I did 3 months in Tuscany. When I graduated university, I went and did some projects. I did some manual labor and construction on a little farm. I did some shepherding. I had a flock of sheep and goats that I looked after for a few weeks. Imagine me in the Tuscan hillsides amongst the olive trees. I had my staff. I literally had a shepherd staff. And I think there was 22 sheep and 18 goats, or maybe the opposite way around, 18 sheep and 22 goats, but they had a pack, and there was all these Tuscan hills of the olive orchard, and my stick, and there was some sheepdogs, and it was fantastic. It was gorgeous. Did some olive picking at a different place, because that's part of the season. Some childcare was something that I did there as well. That's where I started. I started in Italy, had a little break back in Christmas after 3 months, and then went back out, I think, to Ireland was the next one, and then I did Germany, then Portugal, Morocco, and then back to Germany, then Wales. I spent multiple months in each place, and I did a few different projects, well, 20 projects in particular, mainly eco-building and farm work. And I used Workaway at the time, which is no endorsement, I'm not sponsored, as you know, but Workaway, Woofing, HelpX, these volunteer platforms around the world, I recommend it. Changes your psyche. Spend 2 years living out of a backpack and working with your hands when you're an intellectually dissociative individual like myself back in the day. It is a fantastic way to work. I see a question coming through. Can you direct the communication backlog at yourself? Fantastic question. Yes, you can. Earlier in the live stream, I was talking about the idea of communication backlog being when you choke down the resentments, gobbled on them, and they're stuck inside your throat. You can do the same in terms of your own shame and your own guilt when you're doing things that you're not proud of and you keep choking it down. Communication backlog starts with yourself. So likewise, very good perceptive insight there. You can build that communication backlog with yourself, and it's best to clear it as quickly as possible by being honest with yourself as quickly as possible. It'll help your well-being. I see Sasha saying, how are you feeling, Jordan? Honestly, quite good in this moment. I'm exceptionally pleased with how last year wrapped up, and I'm in the middle of the relaunch and door opening of the Shadowwork Library course and community, and my intentions and goals for how many people I wanted to welcome in by my birthday in April are already well on track. I've had many wonderful conversations via email as well because of the newsletter that I'm promoting down in the link in the description. I send out these personal style emails and I always respond personally to every email where I can. If it's a dumb email and you're being rude, I'm not going to respond, but people respond very thoughtfully and I respond thoughtfully as well. And I've been amazed that in some of these conversations, people have enjoyed the exchange so much that then they want to join the Shadowwork Library and they're like, wow, I didn't know this type of conversation was possible. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like I'm responding to you personally because I'm personally sending you an email. Like that's what I want my business to feel like. And especially in this first year, I've never used an email list. This is how I'm feeling. Never used an email list. Never done email. In the summer last year, I was kind of learning how to do email, but now I've got almost 1,000 people on an email list, which is fantastic. I only started this 2 weeks ago. Nuts. Insane. 1,000 people almost on the email list. If you want to be there, you want to be getting the emails on my list, but also importantly have an opportunity to communicate with me via email and talk about shadow things and newsletters and essays that I share and respond to them. We have a little bit of a chat backwards and forwards. I find that very rewarding. So Sasha, that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling very good about my identity as a teacher and my role as a coach, and by extension, the authentic self that I am, which expresses through those roles and responsibilities, is very, very close. The mask is very minimal. I have a private life, which is my private life. I have aspects of myself which don't relate to my work life, but a lot of me is this. This is my mission and purpose. I feel very good. Very, very good. I feel very, very lucky to be the man I am and have the life that I get to have. Let's see what else is coming through on the chat as we start wrapping things together. Jordan, from Machna X Machna. Jordan, I do have a question. Reading from the chat now. How does one create the desire to want to be with others, to know others? I've grown comfortable pushing people away and closing my social circle down, but I don't agree. I'm going to give you a simple 2-sentence summary. 2 questions. Why do you need others? Superficial level, deep personal question now. Why do you need others? Write down your needs. Second question, actual needs, deep needs. Obvious ones, connection, blah, 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 deep needs. Why do you need others? Second question, if you got to choose which kinds of people are worth spending your time with? High status thinking. Which types of people are worth spending your time with? Those 2 questions together. I see Cynthia in the chat. Do you offer a payment plan for your Shadowwork Library? Yeah, I do. You can do split payments. It's £400 per payment with 1 month in between. Or if you pay in full, you can make advantage of the promotional discount, which I've got currently going on, where you'll get your first 6 books free, which takes the 750 down to 675. So you've got 2 options for the Shadowwork Library. Link in the description, the course, the community, the place that you want to hang out in 2025. You can either pay in split, £400, 1 month later, £400 again. That's the payment plan. Or you can pay in full, which means you can take the advantage of the discount and pay the 675 in a single installment, which gives you lifetime access to the pre-recorded course. And it also gives you full access to this year's worth of coaching inside the Shadowwork Library. We're doing 30 calls in total. The next one's coming up tomorrow. I hope that answers your question. You can send me an email if you have any more particular insights, but that should answer things. Anyone else who's watching as well. I see here in the chat, is it better to practice shadow work on your own, from Priyansa, or is it better to have a guide, someone who has a lot of experience with shadow work? I ask this because sometimes shadow work can be intense. Or wouldn't this be a great opportunity for me to further plug the Shadowwork Library course and curriculum? You know what? I've done enough of that. I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to do the opposite of don't join the Shadowwork Library. I don't know if this is reverse psychology. It just makes it more fun for me because I've been saying these things over and over again. You don't need anyone to help you with shadow work. You don't need a course. You don't need a community. You don't need anyone. You can do it all on your own. And I'm not even being ironic. Kenneth, don't say I'm joining. Kenneth, no. No, the reverse psychology can't have worked. No. Kenneth's in the chat saying, I need you, all caps. It can't be that effective. Don't let the reverse psychology get to you. You don't need anyone. You don't need me to help you with your shadow work. As he is joking around. But also, who knows? Who knows? Maybe someone, the reverse psychology worked. As I was sharing in the story earlier, 5 years ago, that moment of meeting my dark self, my inner tyrant, who was there with me but me? I don't have a therapist or a mentor or a guide at the same time. I have Alexander Lowen watching my back. I have all of these wonderful men and women. They're watching my front and my sides. For me personally, when I'm reading these books, I feel like I'm in a conversation with a beautiful friend. I joked to one of my clients about a month ago that when I reread these books, it feels like Lowen's giving me a kiss on the cheek. I imagine him in his 80s. Like playfully, he's like not taking it too seriously, and like an old man kiss, he's like, mwah, mwah. Like very hearty, embodied. He's a healthy man, lived all the way into his late life. I get that relationship from books. So for me personally, I don't have a therapist. I've never had a therapist. Also, you are not me. You know yourself. Have I heard of de Mauser? Yeah, Lloyd de Mauser, Psychohistory. Of course I have. Fantastic book down here. I think it was published in 1976. A new psychohistory. You know what? It's actually here. It's in my history section. This one? New Psychohistory. Was it 1976? Got an old second-hand copy. Let's find out. Ah, I am trash. It was 1975. Awful. Just 1 year off. I need to brush up on my memory. It's close enough, close enough. But yeah, Lloyd de Mauser is fantastic. Point is, with shadow work, the reason I can remember that is that I have a conversation with Lloyd. He was fantastic. He's such a good teacher. In fact, I actually got his book, The History of Childhood, over here, which I found in a charity shop in the UK. Very rare book, hard to find. I found it cheap in an antiques charity shop in Oxford a few months back. So, pretty cool to find that. Anywho, shadow work, I don't have a therapist. I've never had a therapist. I have never gone down that path personally, but in a different way. I have had dozens of therapists. And for me personally, based on my character structure, I've recommended this across the channel, I would much rather spend 10 hours with Alexander Lowen like this for £15 than spend 10 hours with my average London therapist. Go into the London clinic, get to pay £150 an hour, maybe for 55 minutes. Pay £1,500 for 10 hours of formal therapy, scientifically certified with my CBT therapist, or maybe they're a bit more somatic. Cool, that's better. But at the base level, like what people consider therapy, this is what I'm playing with, the idea. It's a bit reductionistic, it's a bit of a straw man, I understand. But most people who are watching this video, they live near a major city where they could go into a therapist directory, they could find someone who they pay by the hour, and they get certain insights and breakthroughs, and that's really fantastic, I'm glad for you. But isn't it much more useful to professionalize your own therapeutic endeavors and spend 10 to 20 hours per week self-therapeuticizing in a consistent state of consciousness for multiple years in a row and do all the work up front to give yourself the joy of an embodied, vitalized self-understanding which lasts you for decades? I personally chose that option. It worked for me. You don't need to choose either or, but if you're considering something alternative, see Kenneth in all chats, in all caps, absolutely, exclamation mark, God helps those who help themselves. Kenneth's passionate. Kenneth is passionate about the inner work, and that's what we like to see here. So, I think you can do shadow work by yourself. My vision for you, in terms of the shadow work library, is enjoy the pre-recorded material, 36 book curriculum, 9 modules inside the shadow work library. I'm the presenter, but I present you the information and the tools for you then to take and start tinkering around in your own psyche. To start like opening things up and going, what's inside of there? To like open up an eye over here. Ah, that's what I'm not looking at. Okay, that's why I'm so twitchy. Oh shit, I'm choky here. That's my somatic shadow. I hate my mother. Of course I hate my mother. Oh, what's all this? Oh, it's all so heavy and burdensome. Oh, there's my uncle's expectations of me. the somatic shadow work and the personal shadow work can really be continued quite deeply if you go professional with yourself. So it's worth it. It's worth going quite deep on your own. You can do it. Or you can benefit from teachers and course creators and YouTube personalities who have communities that are linked in the description if you happen to know any of them. I see 10 say my therapist felt enabling to me, no guidance whatsoever. Yeah, I see Bo 1.0, not 2.0, maybe 2025 is the year for 2.0 Bo. Bo 1.0, that's 2024, we want Bo 2.0 in 2025. Yep, I see you coming back in. I'm answering your question. We're on the right chain. Right back in the same question. I'll read it out. What is your opinion on psychedelics and what they do in terms of the psyche? My experience directly is that I've tried shrooms and I've tried acid back in the day, my early 20s, and I will tell you what, smoked weed from my early teenage years as well, and that was very psychoactive for me. It's nothing compared to 5 years of semen retention, 25, 30 deep fasts, being in a continual state of self-analysis and self-inquiry and self-repair via the books. You can shortcut your way to the top of the mountain. You can take the hot air balloon all the way up, get to the top, see the top. It's useful for an overview perspective, but you don't know the exact navigable path up. Inversely, you take something deep like a plant medicine, you go all the way into the bowels of Mother Earth and you get your experience where you're dying to yourself and you're opening up into collective consciousness. The earth has opened up like a fissure, you've fallen through the earthquake and guess what? You're at the underrealms, the Shambhala territory where there's all the crystals and caves and earth folk and fairies, I don't fucking know. Get what? Cool, you're down there, great. All the way up, all the way down, doesn't matter which direction the psychedelic journey takes you. I'm interested in the map all the way through. I want to know the roads, I want to know the navigational structures. I want to know how to get there again, and that is learned and experienced and remembered through patient, steady, consistent progress over multiple years. I can see a use for things like psychedelic-assisted MDMA therapy. It's becoming legal in places. There's different clients I've worked with who speak very powerfully of these things, but guess what? That option is always available, and it's going to become more and more available. What I like to talk about on this channel, what I like to do with my client works is 4 months of sobriety. Let's see what psychoactive substances get released in your own brain through sobriety and focus and discipline. Oh, mwah! Come on, devotion, not just discipline, devotion to the therapeutic process. Come on, so much better than, there's my tab. Oh, I'm going on a journey. Ooh. Poking fun. They're very, very, very different things. I'm interested in who you are as a person throughout the days and the weeks and the months and the years of day-to-day consciousness. And I want you to raise your consciousness at the baseline level so that a peak state doesn't become a crash state, but a peak state becomes a plateau experience. From the plateau, you have a new foundation that then gives you opportunity to then peak and then plateau. It's not peak and crash, it's not the come up and the come down. Psychoactives and substances often have this effect. Let's raise the standard to the plateau, raise the standard to plateau, get to something like an integral state of consciousness, a holistic, well-rounded psychosomatic integration, and guess what? You're going to be one of the top 1% of human consciousness that's ever existed on planet Earth. Top 0.1%, I'll be more specific. And you'll maintain that. And from that place of maintenance, from that place of being on the plateau where you're not crashing and you're not euphorically leaping towards the clouds, you can make a genuinely powerful impact on the people around you, and you're going to feel so much fucking love for yourself because you know it's all you and it's all woven together. You know the roads. It's not just getting to the inner cathedral. On the mountainside, you know the exact mountain path and the pathways to avoid. It's not just going all the way underground to the Shambhala regions of the inner lost civilization. You know the exact cave structure. You know when to switch over into the watery river and ride that canoe down into Hades. And you know how to do it, you remember it, and you can teach other people to do it. Look what I've done on my channel. How am I good at what I do? It's because I've done it in sober states. 6 years sober. In 3 weeks' time, I'll be 6 years sober. 5 years of retention. 700 plus psychology books, clickbait as it is, but that's what I've read. 164 of them reread. 900,000 words typed manually. I'm trying my best to build the map. Give you the map. And then you walk it yourself in a sober state. I see right now they're approaching about 100 minutes on this live stream. So I think that's as good a place as any to start ending things. But you know what? I'm kind of inspired to maybe take this to 2 hours, because I've never done a 2-hour live stream. Let me just check the time. I don't have a client session for 3 hours time. I could do a little bit longer. Next client session's in 3 hours. Should I go a little bit longer? 2-hour live stream. Kenneth said, I'll donate to you if you have a patron. I don't have a patron, but apparently you can super chat here on YouTube. If you want to support me and buy me my next book, you can do that. But also save the money, put it into your own book, brother. Put it into your own book. That's what psychedelics are. I see Alex saying, I always felt psychedelics were a shortcut instead of going deep over the long inner work journey. Exactly. Hot air balloon to the sky, or earthquake fissure opening up into the depths of the earth. Bo 1.0 said, what about using psychedelics to assist you in that journey, like the food you pack in your bag that helps you get there? Good metaphor. I have my truth, which I know to be true, based on my experience, and I have the consensus truth amongst professionals who use these substances to support therapeutic processes. The consensus truth is that you're right. Something like controlled condition MDMA therapy with a clinician on a 6 or 8 hour journey can be something that helps you go further along the path. I've likewise had clients who've gone to the Amazon jungle, or gone to Costa Rica, or gone to Bali and done an intentional plant medicine ceremony, and they speak to the power of these things. And yet, my friend, they become my clients months or years after the experience, and I have never once heard a story from a single client, no matter how intelligent and how sensitive, that they remember the way back to the state without the substance. Not one. And then they ask me to help them build the journey back to the state that they shortcutted with the psychedelic, because they saw something or felt something that was so insightful or so revelatory or so peaceful or so loving. It was amazing, it was powerful. They want to get back. And it's through the structural work, it's through having the theoretical scaffold and reading things like transpersonal psychology in particular that really help to bring things together. So personally, I just can't advocate for psychedelics as the path for people like you and me who are interested in books and interested in systematic structuring, because it's just not the thing from my perspective. I see that I was stuck at a dead end in my unconscious with an unwavering force. Well, in that case, if you're stuck at an absolute dead end and you need something to break you through rapidly and see, again, imagine a metaphor, you're stuck in the pit. You want to go all the way deep or all the way up, get an overview that it's possible. Suddenly the willpower. You can see that there's a way. Vroom, back down. Hot air balloon. Shoo, shoo, shoo. You can see the way out. You can see how to crawl out. Fantastic. I want that for you if that's your best conscious choice as an adult. That's your choice. I don't know what the laws are, but that's your choice. Likewise, go all the way deep. See something else that's possible, but the majority of the journey will be getting out of that little state and then continuing. Dark state. It's not insignificant. I'm not saying it's little and insignificant. I spent 12 years in very depressive suicidal energy. I got out of it through fasting and reading and travel and grounding and soul work and meditation. Did all these things. It works, but it's on you. It's on you to choose. I see in the chat now. I'm curious about MDMA therapy because that's been marketed as the best psychedelic for PTSD because it turns off the amygdala. Yeah, there's plenty of research out there. It's not my area of expertise, but there are very smart people who are doing very powerful work. There are many ways to heal. Not something I try and focus on. I have a different approach. Robert said in the chat, is your book going to be autobiographical, or will there be exercises and explanations to heal mind and body? Well, Robert, as maybe you heard, I started writing my first book back in Vienna. I went to Vienna last month. Oh, sweet Vienna. It was cold. I saw Sigmund Freud's house. I went to Viktor Frankl's home. Pretty cool dudes. I saw Alfred Adlerstrasse. Sehr cool, super cool, as they say. Like, Germans, it's like, they're talking German, and they'll be like, das ist super cool. And they use the English words, all the cool words are in English. Like, oh, yeah, super cool. I love it. It's so fun. I'm not going to go into German. Anywho, the point is, I went to Vienna and started writing my first book. And for me, that was writing about a dozen pages on my childhood trauma, firstly, and mostly, because I keep getting asked the questions, oh, I wrote about my childhood trauma and blah, 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 things that happened to me, and isn't it all about me? That's something that I've done, more or less. It's there. But this is just the first book in a prelude before the rest. You asked what am I going to have in the book in terms of exercises and explanations to heal mind, body, and soul. I don't fucking know, because I am not thinking in the criteria of one book to solve all things. This is my life work. My initial plan, and I think I'm on track with this plan, is about a decade of building things digitally. Decade. 5 years deep into this so far, 3 years on YouTube. A decade of building things digitally. And at the point where the business provides the stability to take multiple years off, reduce client load, reduce teaching load, to be fully focused on writing, it's not one book. I'm aiming for roughly 6 to 12 very good books in my lifetime. Prolific energy. So I don't know how that's going to be structured. I take a lot of inspiration from people like Ken Wilber, who've written, I think, over 20 books. I mean, this is Ken Wilber's shelf. He's written so many. Alexander Lowen's written 12 books. I think there's something powerful, around 10, 12 books in total. So I don't know what the first book's going to be in necessarily. I'll probably bring something through, which will be the summary of my inner work library journey. It'll be more of a bibliographic, bibliotherapy, how to heal via books. Quite a practical book, or maybe just a summary of what I've learned. But there's no way that I can summarize all the material in a holistic, synthetic way in just 300 words. I need a lifetime worth of work. And I'm starting with the digital inner work library, with the digital version of me recommending books, because when I recommend a book like this, you get, what, 298 pages? Actually, no, we've only got 304 pages. That's interesting. 305 pages. Don't know why I know that. If it was 298, it's 305. I give you 300 pages like this, and I didn't write this, everyone else wrote this. Here you go, here's the packet of information, and then here, let's go on to the next book, and let's go on to this one down here, and then, okay, let's go on to this one down here. I can't produce 5,000 pages worth of material very quickly. So, yeah, I can't do that quickly. It will take a lifetime. The first book is being written, and yet my focus is to film the digital curriculum for the School of Self-Integration, which you can find linked down in the description. My current aim for 2025 is to film the best holistic, high-level self-integration curriculum that exists online based on 120 years of psychoanalytic tradition across the major modalities of inner work. I started it with the Shadow Work Library. The Shadow Work Library, if you want my full scheme, the Shadow Work Library curriculum is the first third of that entire curriculum. It's the first 36 books of 104 books, which I've selected from the last 700 books I've read based on 120 years of psychoanalysis from roughly 1899 with Freud's interpretation of dreams, but also we have Theosophy from the 1870s. Theosophy Society was 1875. We have some of the old traditions in terms of things that were going on in the Middle Ages. Okay, the specifics are there, but roughly 120 years. I found what I believe to be the best 104 books, which I will then split into 30 different modules. I've got the full teaching curriculum. You can see the link in the description. Go down to the school. It says brackets 2026. You can see the Q&A. Can I see the full module list? And I say, yes, you can. And I give you all 30 modules I've got planned. I know where the books are going in each of the modules. All 30 modules, 104 books, broken down. But guess what? I've only got 110 of the videos filmed. I have 220 left to film while maintaining an active client practice of 5 or 6 clients at once, and I love this work. It fills me up, and also it's a wise business move to keep cash flow and services going. Otherwise I run out of money and I can't do things that are kind of like delayed money. If I just film for a year and don't make any money, I run out of money. So I do client work. I built this community to then get the teaching collective consciousness in place, so to open things up. That's fantastic. And then my primary goal on the Tuesdays and Wednesdays throughout the week, maybe some of the Thursdays as well for the year ahead, is to film the self-integration school curriculum and translate the best of this library into something which is digital and accessible to those who are interested in depth. And then once I feel like I've truly honored the tradition, I will be able to then probably go deeper into writing my own book, as it were, and my own ideas kind of really coming in synthesis-wise. So that's my plan for book writing and the road ahead. I hope that helps. Looking at all of 2025 being a filming year. 2026 will then open up a bit more business, teach inside the school for about a year. Yeah, that's see Alex Dobos saying, what do you think about creators like Dr. K who make inner work more accessible for the younger generation? Fantastic. I've seen some of his videos. I think he's a brilliant man, and I love people who teach at all levels. Just because I'm focused on a certain band of consciousness and certain problems that come with a certain band of consciousness doesn't mean that I don't relate to other teachers, healers, therapists, and leaders who are doing their work to help their people. I'm not the guy who's here to help gamers, or teenage gamers, or the parents of gamers, or people who are in different problems, different levels of consciousness, but I'm glad that he is. I really love the collaboration that's all going on. So that's how I feel about people who are teaching at different levels. Generally speaking, I think more help is good, and it's also important for us to know which level we're teaching at, so that we can be fulfilled. We can be fulfilled, we can be happy. We'll move in now on the final 10 minutes of the video and get this over the 2-hour mark, because I'm going to enjoy seeing this 2-hour live stream. And energetically, although my mouth's slightly dry, I could probably keep going for a while. I think in the future, maybe I do a challenge live stream. Maybe I'll do a marathon challenge where I do a live stream for, I don't know, 4 hours. I could do 4 hours. 5 hours, that's kind of a push. I think, oh, how long could I go for? In the chat, how long do you think I could do one of these for? Based on how if you've been here the whole time, my energy level kind of going up and down. Could I do a 4-hour live stream? Could I get to 6 hours? Half a day? Oh, maybe the inverse of my inner work. As the candle burns down, you've seen it started off all the way up here. It's going down. Maybe I like set a candle. I find a candle that's exactly 6 hours worth of time, and I have to do the live stream until the candle burns out. Those candles exist, right? You can buy candles at a certain lengths of time. That's a cool challenge. Maybe that's a birthday challenge or something like this. And Joe said yes, and then we eat together. Joe, you've been here throughout, so thank you. Yeah, maybe I'll do the inverse of a fast for my birthday is something like a 6-hour live stream. I'm not going to do it for my birthday this year. I've got different plans for my birthday this year. I'm doing a little pilgrimage. I might talk about that. I might keep it for myself. I'm doing a pilgrimage, fun pilgrimage for my birthday, energetically powerful, going somewhere special. I might talk about it. I might keep it to myself. That's my private life. I'll decide after the event. I'll do a long live stream in the future. I see 111 on the stream side. I guess that's the angels supporting me. 111 angel numbers. I see Victor saying, thanks for the gold in this live. Thank you, brother. Have to go read for tomorrow night's call. Victor, I will see you in tomorrow's Sunday seminar. Victor's one of the students we have in there. I love that my students join for the live streams and join for the group calls. And likewise, like Rachel earlier on in this live stream, she said she couldn't stay for too long because she's going to be reading the books instead. I love that. I love the standard of consciousness that we've curated inside the community. If you want to be part of one of the most, dedicated, devoted, academically therapeutic communities that's currently going, while it's still small, it's only 40 members right now, you're going to get an opportunity to talk one-to-one in the calls. Link in the description. It's time limited. You'll see me in 4 months' time saying it's either more expensive or it's less accessible. It will happen. I tend to have a pretty good ability to predict where things are going in terms of growth. Join now, make the most of it. Got calls every single week. Let's see if any more people are coming through. Otherwise, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. 2 hours is a gift. You can tell that I love this work. You can tell that the ability to free associate and just go with whatever flows is because I live for this. I really love being in a library, and whenever I take time doing anything else, extended time, go for a trip, or spend time occupied with other things, different areas of my life, maybe socializing, or I go and spend time working on parts of the business that don't feel like the living aspect of this library, my energy starts to go down and I start to diminish. Not a lot, but I fuel up and charge up being in the space and doing something which is truly mine, like my real essence and purpose here. So I'm happy to share things. I see Cynthia saying I could listen to you for hours and hours. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Does anyone have any final things to say to me? Politely or rudely? In love and light, or in shadow and spite? That's a good one. In love and light, or shadow and spite? What would you like to say to me before we wrap up this 2-hour stream? See Claire saying, great to hang out with you, Jordan, for a bit. Thanks. 6 hours, that's ambitious and sounds too long. Probably does sound too long. Maybe do a charity stream or something like that. I'll do a charity stream and donate the money to my local library. going to show off my local library is the best choice of that money. Maybe I'll do a charity stream, and then all the money that comes in, I don't know, £50 or something, I'll take it off of a student's membership for the Shadowwork Library. Someone who gets to be here for live then gets a collective pool. It's like an immediate inner work raffle or something. I don't know. I don't know. I've never done this stuff before. But anything else people want to say to me, let me know. Read in the chat. Otherwise, we will be wrapping up. And I can just encourage you to go and look at the community posts that are going to be out this week. Encourage you to join me in the Shadowwork Library. But there might be an opportunity. Don't leave just yet. If you're watching live, someone's going to come through with something that might be worthwhile. Final moment where the window of opportunity is closing. Got your opportunity. Final question. Final moment. Anything you want to say. See, Sasha, thank you. Thank you for being here, Sasha, for the whole time. I appreciate that. See, Go. In hindsight, this will spread through you to the clients and then to other people eventually in due time. I agree. I agree. Does anyone, or everyone have a final thing for me to say, or have we reached the moment? It is the end of the Inner Work Library journey. The candle has burned down. If you've been here the whole time, if you haven't commented just yet, say hi in the chat, give me a pine emoji, give me something. Let me know that you appreciated the longer live stream. I enjoy doing them, and I think I will keep them going like this. This might be the question. From Make 1984 Fiction again, thank you. What would you recommend to overcome extreme forms of brainwashing beginning in the formative years? And I've got the book exactly for you. I would go for this book by Just Mirlo called, I can't say that word on YouTube. That book right here. That's the book on brainwashing. This is the textbook on brainwashing techniques. I think from the 60s this book was written. It's about brainwashing psychology and how to overcome it. This book was actually written in 1956. Yeah, there you go. Ask a question, you shall receive. See what just happened? Right, like someone asked the question, I give them the exact specific book from 1956. I need to be prompted. If I'm prompted, I can like auto repeat. People say ChatGPT is the best thing for this solution, but my middle name is Thomas, and I am ChatJTT. At least I tell myself that joke when people keep telling me to use ChatGPT. I'm like, you know what? No. I've got ChatJTT. It's enough for me. But I hope you enjoy that book. Yeah, see that you're grateful. I see 10 saying thank you, Jordan. I've just signed up for your email list. My name is Samantha, and I look forward to joining your masterclass. 10s, it is wonderful to see you. You'll see in the study guide downloadable that you'll have a discount code for £75 off the Shadowwork Library. It is the best time to come join us for the masterclasses, the seminars, the live calls. We've got one going on tomorrow, so if you feel inspired by what you're seeing in the study guide, I would love to see you in there, Samantha, honestly. It would be a pleasure to get connected. You're free to email me personally after this as well. Final few comments, and then I will let you go about your day, and I'll prepare for my next client session. Robin Say has been here for the last 10 minutes. Well, make sure to catch the repeat, and you'll see the timestamps. I see Chase saying peace and gratitude. Thank you for being here. Josh, I appreciate you dropping the pine tree emoji. Yeah, people coming in, just let me know you've been here. I know it's easy to lurk and kind of like be in the background when something like this is happening. You've got me listening. Rini says, Rini, good to see you. Good to see you here. Actually came here late. I was working here for a short break. Fantastic. Familiar faces. Booked Girl, hi Jordan. Glad I caught this. The setup is Dickens vibe. Do you live in a period property? Not necessarily now. I just live in a small property, and I like decorating myself in nice antique situations. I've got a nice wooden desk over here. I see some palm tree. Delia went for palm tree, not the pine tree. Unlike Marie-Louise von Franz with her pine tree on the front cover, we've got the palm trees. We've got the exotic oriental twist on the theme. Have a good evening from Joe Wild. I go to cook now. You got me in the background, fantastic. I see Emrys saying I'm lurking. Prancer says lol, all caps, fantastic. I could just read all this out. Mnet says I'm gonna watch this tomorrow. Can't wait. And Iris says I get nervous to chat, but thank you for being here. I think we're reaching the moment. Take a quiet moment to end. No need to end on a massive fanfare. If you're here watching live, let's do something special. Take a calm moment together. I'm gonna focus on the candle. you can feel free to focus on the candle. We'll do 1 minute of candle meditation. I know it's not the normal thing that you do, the YouTube video. You don't have to watch this candle, but wherever you're listening to me or watching me, choose something in the environment and just be present for 1 minute. Be grateful. You're here. This matters. You matter. You don't get this opportunity again. Your candle may be smaller than when you started, like in this live stream. It's gone down. We've only got this much life left. The live stream. Not just the live stream, the life stream. And we face our mortality head on. 1 minute. Join me for a silent reflection. If you want an invitation, breathe a little bit deeper. Open your eyes or relax your eyes, depending on what you need. See if you can find that love and that presence. I'm going to find it myself. I appreciate you being in here. 1 minute starts now. I appreciate you being here with me. Please, appreciate yourself, being here with yourself, just a little bit deeper this weekend. You deserve that. We all deserve that. I'll see you soon.